in front of the old abandoned Kino Lorber rack, so I must be talking about some Kino Lorber releases. I think these both came out in May of 2024. We have a couple iterations of the same folklore, folk tale, if you will. So we have Bluebeard, 1944's Bluebeard, directed by Edgar Ulmer, starring John Carradine, Gene Parker, Niles Astor. To love him meant death. Get John Carradine looking super creepy. The puppeteer. Then we have 1947's Secret Beyond the Door, directed by Fritz Lang, Joan Bennett, Michael Redgrave. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Joan Bennett, what a looker, huh? Very pretty lady. So both of these, all the new Kinos have been coming out with slips. No different artwork as they do. These both have commentary tracks on them. So Bluebeard 1944, we have 2 commentary tracks that Kino added. We have one commentary. I listened to part of the first one. It says with film historians Gregory Mank and Tom Weaver. Listened to part of that. It was really good. I enjoy more so whenever there's a panel on a commentary, so it's more conversational and less, I guess, just like an essay. I feel like it's more like an essay whenever it's one person. I didn't check out the one with a solo commentary with film historian David Dilvel is the second commentary track on here. Didn't check that one out, so I can't comment on how that is, but I think it's really awesome that Kino Lorber is giving us all of these commentary tracks for these film noir that they're putting out. And then Secret Beyond the Door has audio commentary with author, film historian Alan K. Rode. So I love that they're giving us these commentaries. It's like a little film lesson on these pieces of, Hollywood history. So, they both have a new 4K scan on these high definition Blu-ray discs. So I'll just get right on into it. These are both an iteration of the Bluebeard folktale, which is I thought Bluebeard was a pirate. Shows what I know. Bluebeard is a French folktale. Typically, there's a lot of different variations of the story, but from what I have gathered, reading about Bluebeard now, and listening to the commentary, Bluebeard is a wealthy man who has a thing for strangling his many wives, and in most variations of the story there is some kind of a key. He gives his newest wife a key to his castle, and she has access to all of the rooms which contain all of his riches except for one room, and she cannot enter the one room, hence Secret Beyond the Door. So she cannot enter one room, and then whenever she does enter the room, it's filled with blood and the corpses of all of his late wives, and that's kind of the crux of the Bluebeard legend. I had no idea that was a thing. And I guess, according to Wikipedia, bluebearding is a verb, which means either, killing one wife after another, which I'm not sure how often, that happens. And then I guess jumping from woman to woman is also referred to as bluebearding. Didn't know that. So the more you know. Let's get into the plot really quick. So I don't want to spoil these because what's the point of that? This one took place in France. This is from 1944. Both of these have English subtitles on them. Only English subtitles, no Spanish or anything. But 72 minutes English subtitles. I did watch the subtitles because I like to do that. The basic plot is that John Carradine plays a puppeteer / artist named Gaston in Paris. He does a puppet opera, which was interesting. My one qualm with this movie was that a portion, whenever you're first introduced to the fact that he's a puppeteer, a portion of the movie itself is watching the puppet show that Gaston is performing for these people. He meets this girl played by Jean Parker. Her name is Lucille. So he meets Lucille. She's a modiste, and he was like, you know, you're a modiste. Make costumes for my puppets. And you know, as we are watching the puppet show, it just takes a long time. It's like you're watching, I think that they perform an entire song maybe. And as someone who enjoys opera, I'm not sure how much I enjoy puppet shows aside from, like, you know, Sesame Street. But as we're watching it, it's just very long. And I was like, okay, I'm trying to watch a movie here, not a puppet opera. But it was still, I mean, it wasn't like incredibly long. I think I just lost my patience with it because I wasn't trying to hear John Carradine sing opera. And that was my one qualm, but I don't know, maybe that's a weird thing to focus on. So he meets Lucille. He decides that he wants her to be part of his puppet show. It comes to be that he is like an artist and he paints pictures of these girls and then he turns them into puppets. And it's a whole thing. You know, I don't want to go too far into that because that'll spoil the plot. But this one actually features somebody getting garroted. I don't want to get too far into the plot itself and how it relates to the Bluebeard story because I don't want to spoil it. But Gaston is living with this dastardly creature. I forget his name, but he's played by Niles Astor. And basically wherever he's living, there's this door that just opens up to a stoop that leads onto the River Seine. And I don't know if it's supposed to be like a canal, like for boats and stuff. That's how it seems. But, you know, it's a perfect place for dumping off bodies into the river. So there's that. That's kind of how the movie begins. So it's clear from the beginning that John Carradine's character is the Bluebeard, and Lucille is going to be, you know, his intent is that Lucille is his next victim. And it's a matter of her discovering that her new love interest might just be trouble. So it was definitely a romantic mystery thriller, had all the elements, very enjoyable. And at 72 minutes, you know, it was a very quick movie, but it didn't feel like it. You know, it didn't feel like there wasn't enough to it. It was definitely one that I would recommend if you enjoy film noir. It was strong. I don't know why, since they're both based on the same folklore, why wouldn't... There's a ton of movies I've discovered that are based on the Bluebeard tale, so why not put those together in a, I don't know, like in like a combo or something? I don't know. I would have expected that from Kino, but we don't have that here. And then in Secret Beyond the Door, I watched this and found myself thinking, this is the perfect example of film noir. So Joan Bennett is, we kind of hear her inner monologue. She does like this voiceover narration in this very cool, sultry, transatlantic voice, like all throughout the movie. And I'm like, this is so good. Like, it's exactly what you would imagine when you think of film noir. It had all the stylized, like the you know, there is a key in this because there's a door. So in this, Joan Bennett plays, what's her name? Celia. And her, the person that I guess is closest to her, like her father figure, is her older brother. And he dies, and he asks his lawyer friend, he's a very wealthy man, well off, and he leaves his entire fortune in a trust to Celia. And his best friend is a lawyer named Bob. and he asked Bob to take care of Celia, so they're going to get married because it only makes sense. And he asked Celia to, she was going to go to Mexico, and he says, go for one last fling before we get married. And that was where Bob went wrong, because Celia meets charming Michael Redgrave, who plays Mark. Oh, Mark. In Mexico, he's an architect, and he collects rooms. I love the way that they say rooms. They say, these are my rooms. Like, I'm just going to start talking like that. I'm just going to be the new Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek. That's going to be me. I'm going to be extremely theatrical and over the top in everything that I do. So, very inspirational in that regard. So Mark lives in New England. He lives in Lavender Falls in New York. And basically they have a 2-day fling in Mexico, and in that time they're married, and that inner monologue from Celia was very interesting. She pens a letter to dear old Bob and says, by the way, I married some other guy. You know, they have a housewarming party. She comes back and she's the lady of the house, but Mark has some secrets. He didn't tell Celia that he has a young boy named David. David is a troubled boy, and then he has his help. He has Mr. and Miss Roby and his sister Carrie, and they all live in his estate, and he's the man of the house. But you know, Mark acts pretty different. He has moments where you can't really tell. You know, Celia wonders, does he really love me? Because he keeps running away and doing very strange, bizarre things. He collects a series of rooms where he has, they're numbered, and he says that they reflect felicitous events. And, you know, that's key. They're felicitous. They're not happy. They elicit happiness, but they're not happy. So what does that mean, Michael Redgrave? Mark. So he gives everybody a tour of his estate and his various rooms, and we discover that they are all depictions of murder. So they're crime scenes. They are, he tells the different ways that the people in those rooms, they're basically copies. He's doing a recreation of a room, and there's a secret 7th room that is locked, and Celia very beguilingly makes a copy of the key, and she lets herself in, and she discovers the secret beyond the door. What that is, no one will know. I will say, I thought that I knew where this was going. I thought that from the very beginning, I was like, this is clearly going to be how this movie ends. I was wrong. So, took me by surprise a little bit. So I have to give it to them for that. I really enjoyed it, and I haven't checked out the commentary track on this yet. I mean, I think that if you're new to film noir and you want to see what the genre is all about, I would recommend this, because it has all of the things in it that a good film noir has. It's very stylistic. It has, it's almost like some of the things where it focuses, like you can see how there's a lot of crossover between this and Giallo whenever they focus on, certain objects. Like this one key is illuminated. This hand touching a doorknob is illuminated. It's focusing on this one thing. There's beautiful photography in it, and the scans look really good. The scans look great. So I think that I haven't seen any other iteration or version of these movies before, but I can only imagine that this new 4K scan is an improvement, because they looked great. So thanks for watching my review. Thanks to Kino Lorber for sending these to me for review. A couple love stories gone wrong, perhaps. You'll have to watch and find out. I'm going to be talking about some more film noir in the future, so if you're into that, stick around. And maybe some other stuff. Who knows? Who knows what I'm doing anymore? But I hope you come back and watch it. And I'll see you next time.